Let me make two statements first, and one is to President Trump. And I want to say thank you for your belief in my son. We all believe in him. We really believe that he is not that man he was 7 years ago. I'm not that mother. The other thing I want to say is I am here to tell the truth. To tell the truth to the American people and tell the truth to the senators on the Hill, right, especially our female senators. I really hope that you will not listen to the media and that you will listen to Pete.
So on today's episode of Fox and Friends, Penelope Hegseth, the mother of Trump nominee Pete Hegseth, personally asked Donald Trump and the Republican senators to look past her son's many controversies and confirm him for the role of Secretary of Defense. Penelope has been in the news lately ever since the New York Times published an email that she wrote to her son Pete in 2018. She addressed that email during the Fox and Friends interview, and we will get to her addressing that email in a little bit. But first, let's take a moment to review what the actual contents of the email were. She wrote to her son, "On behalf of all women, and I know it's many, you have abused in some way, I say, get some help and take an honest look at yourself. I have no respect for any man that belittles, lies, cheats, sleeps around, and uses women for his own power and ego. You are that man and have been for years. And as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it is the sad, sad truth. It's time for someone, I wish it was a strong man, to stand up to your abusive behavior and call it out, especially against women. We still love you, but we are broken by your behavior and lack of character. For you to try to label your second wife, Samantha, as unstable for your own advantage is despicable and abusive. Is there any sense of decency left in you? She did not ask for or deserve any of what has come to her by your hand. Neither did Meredith. And Meredith, by the way, was Hegseth's first wife. So considering that much of the opposition Hegseth is facing surrounds his alleged mistreatment of women, let's see how Penelope tried to now explain that email on Fox and Friends this morning.
Let's go back 7 years, which if we all went back 7 years, we would see that maybe we were not the people we are today. But they were going through, Pete and his wife at the time were going through a very difficult divorce. It was a very emotional time, and I'm sure many of you across the country understand how difficult divorce is on a family. There's emotions. We say things. And I wrote that in haste. I wrote that with deep emotions. I wrote that as a parent. And about 2 hours later, my husband tells me I should think through things a little bit more. But Pete and I are both very passionate people. I wrote that out of love. And about 2 hours later, I retracted it with an apology email, but nobody's seen that.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to hear from some of Hegseth's colleagues at Fox News in a bit. But first, Jordan, that is one hell of a walk back. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, I assume her son put her up to that. I assume she's facing a lot of pressure. Maybe she truly believes it, but this isn't the only character flaw that we should be concerned about with him. And she's not the only person who has expressed concern about his ill-fittedness for this role. We've got a cabinet that Trump is assembling filled with TV personalities, Franks, miracle cure, doctors, billionaire donors, investors. It's a mockery of all of it. And for him to appoint Hegseth, who on top of this has expressed support for further militarizing the border and using the military to crack down on domestic threats, which through his eyes could mean progressive groups, people who fight back against oppression, who knows, another Black Lives Matter movement. This is not somebody who should be in that position. So while she can say that, maybe she truly does believe that now, I don't think it should change the opinions of lawmakers who have already expressed reservations about this nomination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit too. But first, on that same installment of Fox and Friends, some of the panelists did claim that Hegseth was getting quote unquote Kavanaghed. That's a fun new verb that they came up with. Brian Kilmeade also went on an odd tangent about Hegseth's physical fitness. Let's watch this, and then you can decide for yourself whether any of this is relevant to anything.
There's reports coming out there that we've known it for years, that we know that's just not true. And the fact that they're going out there with unnamed sources when we sit on the couch with him almost every day, I think it's
for
just—
over 10 years.
Yeah, for over 10 years. It just, to me, that is the stunning part, especially when you don't reach out to his co-hosts of the show for comment to say, hey, what do you guys think about that? No one has been contacted about that. I think that screams that it's a witch hunt. We can't allow them to Kavanaugh Pete, because I feel like that's what they're trying to do right now.
The notion that a grilling is somehow disqualifying, the notion that heat on Capitol Hill
That's the process.
is somehow exactly the roadblock to a nomination process, to me is almost blasphemous, because that's the entire thing that the American people voted into office, which is no. We will not succumb to the left's playbook. We will not succumb to Kavanaugh becoming a verb in that the left likes to wield the media and a very public witch hunt to thwart the possibility for actual success. And that's the whole point.
Physically, Pete is cut out of stone. He is a rock. The guy eats healthier, acts healthier, works harder, literally work on his ranch. He has a lifestyle that reflects his discipline.
Yeah, that was an interesting take over there. No one is asking their opinion because we already know what they're going to say. And all of that was a very predictable response to the backlash that Hegseth has been getting. So the hosts are, of course, referencing the allegations of sexual assault against Hegseth, but they're also referring to a recent report by NBC News. And that report says Pete Hegseth drank in ways that concerned his colleagues at Fox News, according to 10 current and former Fox employees who spoke with NBC News. 2 of those people said that on more than a dozen occasions during Hegseth's time as a co-host on Fox and Friends Weekend, which began in 2017, they smelled alcohol on him before he went on air. Some of the sources said they smelled alcohol on him as recently as last month and heard him complain about being hungover this fall. 1 current and 2 former Fox employees said they felt like they needed to babysit Hegseth because of his drinking and late nights. We'd have to call him up to make sure he didn't oversleep because we knew that he would be out partying the night before, one of them said. So it would appear that all of this would be enough for Trump to reconsider his nominee. Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, he might be doing just that, but don't celebrate just yet. Donald Trump is considering Florida Governor Ron DeSantis as a possible replacement for Pete Hegseth, his pick to run the Pentagon, according to people familiar with the discussions. The discussions are in their early stages, one of the people said, adding that Trump has floated DeSantis's name in casual conversations with guests at Mar-a-Lago. Another potential defense secretary candidate who has been discussed by Trump allies, according to people familiar with the matter, is Elbridge Colby, a former Pentagon official and ally Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. Trump is also considering Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa for the job, some of the other people said. What's interesting to me is that any of this even matters to the incoming Trump administration. They don't generally seem too concerned with public opinion now that Trump has won the election, but specifically, this party of people has never put much value on accusations of sexual assault or drunken behavior or general misconduct. Friendly reminder that Trump himself was found guilty by a jury of raping a woman, and his supporters still voted for him. That said, Matt Gaetz did drop out of the cabinet consideration because of his own sordid sexual past and all the backlash that received. But Jordan, Hegseth never made any sense as the Secretary of Defense in the first place. He is like wildly, almost comically unqualified for the role. So there's got to be another reason why Trump chose him. So do you think that he would actually choose someone like DeSantis over Hegseth, who he clearly wanted in that role for some reason that we currently are unaware of?
Yeah, absolutely. Because that opens up a spot for his daughter-in-law, who he wants in the Florida political system. She was rumored as a potential replacement for a couple different positions. Sorry, in Florida. So with Rubio being picked as Secretary of State, that would open up a Senate seat. But if DeSantis is out of the governor's office, it could be her. That could be her next role. So that's a motive for replacing Hegseth with DeSantis, because it would further the political career of someone in his family. I don't know if he'll do it. Joni Ernst certainly has an incentive to vote against Hegseth's nomination because she's on the short list to replace him. So there are a lot of factors at play here, but I do want to touch on the addiction, substance abuse issues too. Of course, you don't want somebody in the running the Department of Defense, rather, with substance abuse issues. It seems to be a problem. It seems to be a problem that still persists with so many people validating it. But I did find funny his response to comments about his alcoholism, that he would quit drinking if he gets confirmed, if he gets the position, which if any of you have known an alcoholic, it's not happening. It's not happening. It's just an excuse. The guy probably needs help, and we should support him in that as a human being. But that is a serious vulnerability, especially for somebody up for Secretary of Defense.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. We really appreciate it, guys. And we appreciate it if you become members, because that allows us to be independent, honest, progressive, all the things that you don't get from corporate media. And all of that is because of you guys. Hit the join button below and become one of us. Become a young Turk.